For those of you who have been following my blog for the last couple of weeks, you know that I have been working on painting my kitchen cabinets. Well, and the walls and ceiling and the family room ceiling. So I've been doing a lot of painting. But I'm working on my cabinets right now. I'm trying to get those finished in the next couple of days, and it's been a massive project. So just know if you're about ready to paint your kitchen cabinets, don't do it right before you have company coming or some big event or you're about to leave on vacation or something. Just do it when you have a couple of weeks to really take your time and not be stressed out about the house being ripped apart while you're working on it, because it's a big job. Especially if you have a big kitchen. I've shared it before, 51 cabinet doors, 16 drawers, and then of course all the cabinets that those doors belong to. So it's really big, which I'm blessed to have a big kitchen. It's great to have that much storage, but when I'm doing a project like this, it's just, it just goes on and on. So let me share with you the products that I'm using, and then kind of give you some tips on getting a nice smooth finish using a brush and a roller when you're painting cabinet doors. Or you can use this technique for furniture if you're working with latex or whatever, it'll work. The primer that I used is Zinsser's 123 primer. I shared a picture of it a few days ago. It ended up taking 3 quarts of primer to be able to coat all of the doors and cabinets and everything. If you have a smaller kitchen, probably 1 to 2 quarts depending on the size. Mine's pretty large, so that took 3 coats, and I simply applied it with a small trim roller and a brush, and I'll show those to you as well. And now I'm down to painting, and I chose to work with an oil-based paint, which I don't normally do. I really don't like the smell. I don't like the cleanup and everything, but I've kind of found some easy ways to work with oil, and I'm at peace with it now. So I hope I'll help you with your comfort level working with oil-based paint too, because it does have its place. There's a good time to work with them in kitchen cabinets and trim. That's a good time to use oil. I'm using the Satin Impervo. It's by Benjamin Moore. What I like about it is it's a satin finish, so it's not this glossy, obnoxious finish. It's a very soft finish that looks really great for cabinetry, but it still has a little bit of a sheen to it. And I'm just using white. It's the white right out of the can. I didn't have it mixed at all, and it's a nice, bright, clean white. It's a good color. I'm really happy with it. I'd have no problem recommending it to other people to use. Since oil-based paints are sort of known for their, leaving brush strokes and roller marks and not looking the greatest, I did get Penetrol, which is an additive that you add to the paint, and it helps to reduce the appearance of the brush strokes and roller marks. I used it last night painting all of the cabinets and the drawers, and it worked really well. I don't know exactly how it works, but the people who made it are geniuses, and it did its job. So anyway, I would definitely recommend using this or some similar product if you're working with if you're working with oil-based paints. I thought I would show what my cabinet doors look like when they're all lined up and primed. They just go on forever, and I'll tell you, when I was painting them, that's how I felt. Okay, and that's not even it. Then there are more up there. Okay, so I'm going to get the can open. I just bought this yesterday and had it shaken. If it's been sitting around for a while, you might want to, well, you definitely want to give it a stir. I'm going to pour it into a paint tray. I get quite a bit because I have a lot of cabinets to do. And then clean up the can here a little bit so I can put the lid back on. Now, in the directions for the Penetrol, it says to put in 1 pint per gallon of paint. So I, not being that great with measurements and all that, I just put a splash in. I don't measure it out, but don't want to get carried away with it. But I put in just kind of a decent amount. I've I've kind of gotten, as I've worked more with paints, I've kind of gotten better at knowing like just how much I want to thin them down when I'm putting them through my sprayer and stuff. So I kind of know what it should look and feel like. And then I'm just mixing it with a stir stick. So I think you want to mix enough in to kind of loosen the paint, but you don't want to put too much in so it makes the paint runny. So I just put in just kind of a good splash for, this is about half of the quart. And it just, I can feel it with the stir stick. It's kind of loosened the paint up enough to make it a little bit more workable. Okay, here's what I like to do when I'm applying paint to anything with a brush and roller. I like to do the brush work first and then follow up with the roller, because the roller tends to leave a smoother finish. So I'm going to go ahead and get into all of the beads of the beadboard cabinet. This is the main reason why I'm not using chalk paint, because the idea of waxing 51 beadboard cabinet doors is just, I just can't do it. I can't do it. So this way I just had to apply a primer and the paint. So as you can see, and I'm putting on a good amount of paint. You want to, don't be chintzy with your paint, but at the same time you don't want to put on too much so it drips and runs. But it's okay at this stage if you're just slightly messy. And I'm kind of pushing the brush into the corners. I'm just using a 2-inch sash brush, which is an angled brush. That's like what I almost exclusively use, is a 2-inch sash brush. Sometimes I'll use a 2.5-inch brush if I'm painting a broader surface. But this is by far the brush that I use the most. And I got this one with a small handle because you can fit it into tighter spaces, and it also it's a little bit more comfortable for my hand. A lot of paint brushes are really big, clearly made for guys, and if they really do hurt my hand after a while. Okay, and I'm just kind of, when you're painting with a brush, it's better to work in long, smooth strokes. So I'm doing some shorter strokes, but then I'm going back over everything and just making it one long, clean stroke. And that's going to look a lot better than having, you know, all of these little sporadic brush strokes. Okay, now I'm using, this is a little trim roller. It's by Shoreline. And the nap on the roller is really fine, is really small, and that gives you a really nice finish. Now what you do want to be aware of is that when you are painting with a roller, you are going to see those little dimples that are left by a roller, but they do sort of smooth out. I was kind of, last night when I was painting my cabinets, I was just like, oh, you can see all the marks and it looks really shiny, but I'm used to latex that's dry in like an hour, and the oil base really does take 4 hours to dry. So if it looks really shiny and it doesn't look so great at first, that's okay. That's kind of normal. I'm getting the side, anything that's flat enough to get with the roller, I'm getting with the roller. And I'm cutting in as tightly as I can with the roller, even though I painted it with the brush, just because I want to get a really smooth finish. This little roller does come with a tray that's like kind of part of the packaging. And it worked okay. I used it, but really I just use a big tray liner. I mean a big paint tray with a liner. It just, I think it You couldn't put a lot of paint in that little tray, and I didn't think it particularly worked that great. So there you go. Nice, smooth finish. Now you can probably see in the light those dimples, but that's going to smooth out a bit as the door dries, so don't panic at this point. And just some tips for setting up your painting area. I'm using everything, oops, there we go. Putting everything in the tray. I've got the brush leaning here. Put your roller, this may be like a duh kind of thing, but put your roller sideways so it doesn't roll down into the paint and then your handle gets paint all over it, which you see it took me a little while to figure that out, but there we go. I am blonde, so I maybe need a little more time than some other people, and keep my stir stick handy. I always use tray liners, especially if I'm using oil, but I use them anyway, and that way I can throw it away when I'm done, just kind of dump the extra paint back into the can and just throw it away, and I don't have to do any of the cleanup. The brush I'm going to clean with a non-toxic cleaner called, it's by Crud Cutter, and it's a brush cleaner, and so I can wash it down the sink. I don't have to use mineral spirits, which is pretty nasty stuff to work with. It has its place, but I only want to use it when I really have to. There you go. That's how to paint cabinets.